tax-free barter
and tax-free trade for some, barrel of pickles or something.
A couple jars of moonshine.
Yeah, if this happens, you're gonna see a lot of old school stuff come back around. But
we've already talked about that.
Yeah, but the point is, if you're not spending money, you're not getting taxed, and if you're not spending money, you're saving money. It literally is going to make people start hanging on to some of their money if you have a tax system, and that affects everybody across the board, including businesses. Businesses have to buy stuff to manufacture stuff with, and then sell their product. There's taxes that the business has to pay to get those.
Going with this?
Do what?
Where are we going with this? We're like, we got so much to say about this George Floyd incident. Blah blah blah. Well, we just turned into H&R Block, man.
Well, my point is if we had a tax like that, I don't think people would be so angry. And I really don't have much of a point on that. I'm just saying, it'd be cool to have a tax like
these
that.
Extremist groups.
Yeah,
that's the problem right now. It's not the people that are holding, protests and demonstrations that go off peacefully and they want to make a stand on what happened to this poor man. It's not that those people aren't the problem at all. I encourage them to keep doing it. It's the people that show up and that are, or the people that are showing up to these events and nobody's paying attention and they're dropping off pallets of bricks. And then the knuckleheads that show up at dark and start throwing those things through windows and trashing people. That's the problem. And those two groups of people are not associated with each other,
If we had a tax, like I said, they wouldn't have bought those bricks. That'd have been a lot of tax. Okay, that's a cheat ass way to bring it back around. But I've actually got
full circle.
I actually have a point to bring it back around, and that is there certain things that I agree with Democrats with. Like, I think rich people should pay their fair share of tax.
Yeah, I do too.
But it's not going to happen until you change the tax code. I wish businesses could pay more taxes, but that's not going to change until you change the tax code, local and federal.
The people that are in charge of changing it, they're the people it would affect, so they're not going to change it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I do get that. Republicans are known as the rich party, the rich people and all that mess. In all actuality, there's probably just as much rich Democrats as there are Republicans. However, they don't pay much taxes either. Warren Buffett?
No, not proportionally, no.
No.
I've seen figures. It's been a number of years, so it would be a totally different.
Why do you think Donald Trump doesn't want to show people his tax return? Because he found a way to get out of it. And you know what? He did it legal because that's the way the tax code is written.
If you use a law to your benefit that
there's nothing wrong with that.
helped you get under the radar, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just part of playing the game. You're just real good at playing it if you do that.
Trump is where he's at because he was forced to file bankruptcy not once but twice.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't be where he's at today if he wasn't able to let go of the debt he had back then. And people call it, well, you claim bankruptcy, that's not fair, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? It's 100% legal because people wrote laws to say they could do it.
Yeah.
Stupid. Now, heading back to protests.
Okay, good.
And we'll get back on track a little bit. I had to slam Pelosi, and there's a few things I agree with her on, but that was taxes. That's all. I don't even agree with her.
Duly noted.
I don't even agree with her on how much abdominal pressure you need to put on your abdomen to take a shit. I don't care. For all you people out there laughing at that one, good. That was
bizarre. Straight bizarre.
But there's more unrest going on. Granted, there's been more peaceful stuff in New York City today than there's been more peaceful and less.
They had a bunch of police officers attacked.
They did, but
no, I'm talking about new ones.
Yeah, they did.
I mean,
but
I don't.
Did you see the video of what the police were doing?
Which one are you talking about?
New York City.
Are you talking about the guys at the jewelry store?
No, I'm just talking about out in the open.
Oh, yes, I did.
Yeah.
Like, who? I'm like, holy shit, these guys have lost their mind.
Police are taunting the fuck out of the demonstrators, and I'm like, what kind of idiot are you to stand there and taunt these people?
But here's the deal. I saw a video, or my uncle sent it to me, and my dad, and it's a video that somebody put on Twitter of, it looks like 3 or 4 emergency service unit guys, and they're cutting their way into a jewelry store that's completely locked up. It's got a roll down metal door in front of the window. They're cutting a hole in that to gain access to it. And I text back and said, surely, and the guy put like, hey, straight up, the New York City police are starting to fucking break in places. And so I text back and said, surely those guys aren't so brazen that they're just like busting into a jewelry store in front of God and everybody knowing all those cell phone cameras are there. And my dad replied and said, it wouldn't surprise me. I've heard stories. I'm like,
well, there was one image I saw on the news tonight. And although I think taking kids to a protest is a bad idea. I'm sure you had good intentions, but bad ideas with good intentions is still bad ideas, right? But he had his little girl, probably 3 or 4, on his shoulders. And he's about maybe 15 feet away from a cop who had a gun pointed at him while his daughter is on his shoulders. He's obviously not going to do anything to you because he's got his daughter on his shoulders. He might be calling you a pig. He may be calling you a blue whale, flatfoot, gumshoe.
Nothing in his hands.
I smell nothing but bacon around here. Bacon sounds actually
always.
Bacon's always good. He could have, he could have been standing there calling him every name in the book, and that cop should be taking it. I realize that they're at their wits' end, but that doesn't give you the right to point a gun at the guy. There's 4 or 5 more officers right next to you. Trust me, if he takes 5 or 6 steps towards you, he's going to have a lot of guns on him. And at that point, if he's trying to attack you with his daughter on his shoulders, then
I haven't seen the video, and I don't know the situation in its entirety, so I'm not going to say if the guy was right or wrong either way. I don't have an opinion on what the cop was doing, but my deal is situations like that, situations like the videos you talked about, the NYPD guys smacking people with what I don't even know what they had. It looked like hickory batons they were beating them with.
It's crazy.
But that incident, there's been some other ones come up in the news. I think people, and I'm not saying that it's justifying it or that it's right that they're doing this. I'm saying the reason it's happening is frustration. They've had their hands tied for so long, told to stand down, and they've been putting up with this shit for over a week. They're tired. I mean, and you have to, I can't even imagine how probably mentally and emotionally worn out you are. Just being yelled at and screamed and just all that for that many days on end.
I get where you're coming from on this, but there's ways to train to remain calm and stay calm. We had to do it.
Yeah, but you got to realize, also, when they're told to stand down and they're burning the city down that these officers live in, there's a big personal, you got a lot personally invested in the community you live in. And to watch these people burning it down for days and being told you can't do anything about it. They fired, de Blasio will fire those cops that were assaulting those people.
Yeah.
Because earlier in the week, they got in a jam and an NYPD officer pulls his pistol and points it at a group of people, tells them back up. And that video hit one of the news feeds, and de Blasio had him fired. And I'm like, this guy is literally being told you don't even have the right to protect yourself or any of the people around you. And I'm like, what is going on, dude?
See, that's the unique part about this is I could take this from a military aspect and be like, we're taught to do exactly the opposite of what normally happens. Let's say you're on a high-speed chase and you're going, 30 miles, probably 30 miles long, high speed, low speed, high speed, low speed. And then finally you're able to get a pit maneuver on him and spin him and pin him. And I've never seen a cop get out of that car, first off, and not run, and secondly, not yell. Adrenaline is through the roof that's trainable.
Yeah, it is.
That's
very much so.
Very trainable. You know, if you had all that adrenaline, you'd never be able to take a shot or an accurate shot. You know, it'd take you 50 bullets to hit one. But if you were still, it's just taking you one.
And you said something last night about training in law enforcement. I think as a whole, people probably don't realize how much training they get.
Well, and not only that, but continual training.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah, they have so many hours of in-service training they have to get a year. A lot of them go to especially guys in specialty units, K-9 guys, SWAT guys, bomb techs, people like that. They go to a lot of schools. I mean, people keep saying that about this training thing, and I just don't know what the expectation is.
Well, even Donnie,
it's easy to say.
Donnie was like, doctors have trainings. Well, you're not going to send a cop to school for 8 years to be a cop. You'd have to pay him $250,000 a year.
Yeah.
Nobody's got the money to pay that. Some small towns, their entire police budget might be $250,000 a year.
If they're lucky,
right?
No,
I'm sure the town I live in is probably 100, and that's to pay 2 officers and keep their car maintained.
Yeah,
their car, because we don't have 2, we just have 1. And they trade off.
They share.
You got the assistant. There's a lot of chiefs, not a lot of Indians here. You have a police chief and you have an assistant chief.
That's it.
No Indians.
That's the administration.
No Indians whatsoever. You got Chief Big and Chief Little.
I don't know, man. I don't know where I sit on the training thing. I really don't, because I'm very aware of what they get trained in. And it evolves. There used to be no mental health training, and they get a lot of mental health training. The majority of people you deal with, or at least a good not the majority, but there's a lot of people with that have sincere emotional, mental issues.
Oh yeah, suicide by cop. That happens. That happens more often than people probably think it does. And every single one of those people have a mental health issue. It's not normal to stand in front of several cops with guns and taunt them.
No,
because you want to die.
No.
That's not normal. That person needs some help.
I don't know, man. I think the longer these skirmishes happen in the evening time in these cities, I think they're probably gonna get a lot more video cops losing their shit and having enough of this. And I don't know, man. There's a certain amount of force that has to be used to take the streets back. Everybody, even before these videos of these officers assaulting people, even before that, anytime the police stepped in and did anything, you would see Twitter blow up with, "Oh, they're using excessive force." Well, number one, there's no way there's that many experts on the use of force out there on Twitter land. Number two, there has to be a certain amount of force used to take it back. People don't like negative consequences. That's just how we are. And as long as they're not experiencing that, they're going to continue the behavior that they've been presenting. Once you start incurring these negative consequences, that's going to make you think maybe that's not so fun. I probably should knock that shit off.
Agreed.
But I think that we're going to see more of it because these mayors and governors. Here's something very interesting, dude. I took a screenshot of this. This was actually posted by our buddy Justin down there in the great state of Texas. And there it is.
Is this the ones who donated to the Minnesota Freedom Fund?
No, not that picture. We'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
There's a list of cities here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 20 cities listed. These are the major cities that are having problems with the riots. 20 cities that we have that are having problems. Every single one of them, without fail, has a Democrat for a mayor. Every one of them. Now, I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah, but in devil's advocate on that one, the vast majority of presidents of the United States have been left-handed.
I think there's a direct correlation between who's running those cities and the problems we're having there and the way that those mayors are reacting or not reacting to what's going on.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I fully believe. Now, I'm not talking like if you say, I fully believe the liberals are doing this, when I make this next statement, I'm not talking about like